Si comes tienes que lavar tu plato, Firulais. Anda, enjuágalo bien. No me gruñas. A ver, con la esponja eso. Y enjuaga bien que luego deja todo jabonoso. Eso así, muy bien, aunque de malas.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Set to go down on the undercard of Sharnika Johnson versus Dina Thorsland. Former champion Sharita Metcalf will be taking on Canada's own Amanda Galle in what is a super flyweight bout. It seems that both women have made the decision to move down in weight from bantam down to superfly. Likely on the premise that they both already lost to Sharnika Johnson, who holds all the alphabet titles at this time. They have since moved down in weight to pursue world title opportunities in a new division, scheduled for 8 2-minute rounds in the women's super flyweight division. Sharita, 41 years old, a very long and limber fighter. She was always very tall and very long for a 118-pound fighter. She's going to be even taller and even longer against super flyweights, whereas Amanda Galle, 37, sports a professional record of 12 wins with 1 loss and 1 draw, 1 recorded knockout, having never been knocked out in 14 professional bouts currently. Still coming off that loss to Sharnika Johnson, she's looking to rebound with Sharita Metcalf in what reads like a sink-or-swim fight for both MVP fighters. You get the impression that Amanda Galle, already coming off a loss, cannot afford to lose this fight, and in some ways, Sharita can't either. Sporting a professional record of 15 wins with 5 losses and 1 draw, 2 recorded knockouts, having been knocked out once in 21 professional bouts. Now, both fighters have suffered losses since migrating over to MVP, and thus, them facing each other, you get the impression that this is sort of a sink-or-swim fight. Sharita has since rebounded off the loss to Sharnika with a controversial decision win over a then unbeaten Crystal Rosado in October of the previous year. I saw that fight, and I didn't really think that Sharita Metcalf won it, but the judges did. So here we are. Whereas Amanda is still coming off that loss to Sharnika in December of the previous year. This is her chance to get back in the winner's bracket, though I don't know that she's going to, because Sharita Metcalf is a notoriously difficult fighter to pin down. She's a long-distance jabber, a long-distance mover with the height and length to complement that base style. Very, very difficult to get to, even at 41 years old, on those 41-year-old legs. Amanda Galle is noticeably shorter. It's going to take a lot of work for her to close the distance on Sharita and work her from the inside out. That's the best way to beat her. That's how Sharnika Johnson did it. That's how Amanda Galle has to try to do it. And as stated, I don't know that she's going to. So on the surface, I'm already leaning towards Sharita Metcalf to stick and move, stay on the outside, use the ring, and win a decision. I don't know that Amanda Galle has the foot speed or aggression to outwork the former champion. There is the added historical precedent that Sharita Metcalf does have a way with the judges. I've seen her get gift decisions that should have gone the other way on more than one occasion. So I'm already leaning towards her to win a decision in August on the undercard of Johnson versus Thorsland. Sharita Metcalf on points is the pick. Men's junior middleweight news, veteran trainer Robert Garcia says Dangerous Zayas is a difficult matchup for Boots. Fight's gone and snuck up on us. It's fight week, folks. This upcoming weekend, Xander Zayas and Boots Ennis are going to do the business. Ennis is set to challenge WBA and WBO junior middleweight champion Xander Zayas this upcoming weekend at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Their DAZN pay-per-view materialized after Ennis moved on from negotiations targeting Garcia's charge, Virgil Ortiz, once he got entangled in a legal battle with his promoter, Oscar De La Hoya. For the time being, Garcia will sit back and watch 2 of the top operators at junior middleweight go to work, hoping that he gets a crack at the winner once Ortiz settles his beef with Golden Boy Promotions. I give a lot of credit and respect to Xander for taking this type of fight so early in his career. At the age of 23, Garcia told The Ring, Zayas said he wanted to fight Virgil in the past, and he's proving it, that he wants the tough fights. He's already unified titles, and he wants to fight Virgil too, and with that type of mentality, he's a dangerous fighter. DraftKings, however, has installed Philadelphia's Ennis as a more than 4-1 favorite, but Garcia doesn't consider Puerto Rico's Zayas to be much of an underdog. It's not going to be an easy fight for Boots, he said. A lot of people are thinking Boots is going to dominate easily. Xander has size and strength, and is big enough to compete at 160. Xander is the bigger man, and that could be the difference. We've only seen Boots fight at 154 for 2 minutes. He's also never been in a fight where he's had to really suck it up to win. He's had great performances, but they haven't come in tough fights where he's had to do the extra requirements to pull it off. Boots is so good that he's beaten everybody pretty comfortably.
Well, is it because Boots is so good, or is it because his quality of competition has been so bad?
It can turn out to be a 50-50 fight. I still favor Boots, but I think it's going to be a difficult fight. Xander is getting ready to pull it off. He's not just looking for a payday. The kid is focused on being the best in the division. Hopefully, it is a close fight because I am excited to see a great one.
Robert Garcia is not the only one with reservations about this fight, and Boots Ennis being the favorite, that this may turn out to be a harder fight than people think. Timothy Bradley said something very similar.
Oh, everybody's high on Boots? Oh, they got a lot of clout around you, Boots. Oh, you got hype all around you. Man, you got all this hype around you. Yeah, shit, got me even hyped up. Because I see how special you can be. But you need to tighten. I'm telling you, if you don't tighten your shit up, player, oh, you going to be looking on the other side. You're going to look like a fool, too. And then everybody will be like, oh, that's why that fool didn't fight nobody. That's why he wouldn't step up his game and fight this person or fight that person. He was very selective. Oh, they going to be talking about you don't get this done, Boots. I'm telling you. But I'm just saying, look, Xander Zayas and his team, they not playing. They see the same shit I see. You better tighten your shit up, Boots. Back to the basics. Shit, you better hire a basic man if you don't know. All that fancy shit. That shit don't impress me. All that fancy shit. You be doing a whole lot of shit wrong, Boots. Crossing your legs and shit. I seen some pad work today you was doing. And you step to your right with your left foot first. That's wrong. That's wrong. I don't care if you're trying to use an angle. It's called back foot step shuffle, fool. You step with the back foot and you go towards the shoulder, the backside. If you want to change positions, yes, you bring that foot forward and then you slide around. Not cross your left foot cross and then pivot around and think you're on another angle. You'll get killed like that. You don't cross your feet in front of your opponents. I'm watching everything. That shit look fancy, but that shit is wrong as hell. Y'all do a lot of wrong shit that look fancy. Ooh, that's fast. Ooh, that's sweet. Oh, that's sweet. Do that shit in there with Xander Zayas. Yeah, Xander Zayas, he beat your ass. He gonna beat your ass technically. He gonna beat your ass technically. That's what he gonna do. He ain't gonna fight your ass. Nope. He ain't gonna give you that. I'm telling you, Boots. I'm telling you and your people. Xander Zayas he gonna beat Boots like this. He gonna beat Boots like this. I'm telling you.
Sounds about right. If Xander Zayas is going to win the fight, it won't be through strength of arms, it'll be through solid fundamentals and textbook boxing. As Xander's not a bruiser, he's not a brawler, he's a boxer.
Boots is supposed to be the puncher. Coincidentally, he's also the newbie to the division, largely benefiting from being a very big welterweight. He's not so big at junior middle. The question is, does he crack hard enough to get Xander's attention?
To steamroll him like he steamrolled all those welterweights, many of which were overmatched.
The bookies have him as a 4-1 favorite going in based on his works as a welterweight, based on what he did, but who did he do it to?
Timothy Bradley touched on this, that you see so many people so easily impressed with Boots Ennis because of the flashy stuff, but most of it isn't fundamentally sound. He makes a lot of mistakes that he's able to get away with because his quality of competition is so poor.
Who was supposed to do anything about it? Thomas Dulorme? Sergey Lipinets? Roman Villa?
David Evanesian, a Montestanionis, who was supposed to really go in there and exploit the flaws in Boots Ennis' game, many of which often go overlooked.
Glad Timothy said it because nobody else does.
Boots is not as fundamentally sound as people let on. He's not the technician he's made out to be. He's more of a bruiser.
My impression of the fight is that if Boots is going to win, it's going to have to be through strength of arms because he's not that fundamentally sound. But if he packs a big enough wallop, maybe he can hurt a young Xander Zayas. Whereas if Xander's going to win, it's going to be through his boxing. textbook boxing and good fundamentals.
So you're basically giving Boots a puncher's chance.
I know that's what it sounds like at a time where DraftKings has him listed as a 4-1 favorite. That may seem like a hot take, but who did Boots really beat that he wasn't supposed to beat?
Couldn't you ask the same question about Xander?
We could, but the difference is Xander doesn't have the hype train around him that Boots has, and Xander is only 23 years old, whereas Boots is close to 30. That Xander Zayas is taking on a fight like this so early in his career when he's so young, and he really doesn't have to. It speaks to Xander's character, whereas Boots, when he was 23, who the fuck was he fighting? What the fuck was he doing?
Why the fuck are people so impressed seeing him pounce on these overmatched opponents? So that when he's fighting somebody like Xander, who's young and talented and confident...
Must be. He wouldn't have taken on a fight like this if he wasn't.
And anecdotally, Top Rank have been winning these cross-promotional fights against Matchroom. How Emmanuel Navarrete beat the brakes out of Sugar Nunez. How Oshaki Foster just outclassed Raymond Ford.
If that trend continues, Xander Zayas may be en route to upset Boots Ennis.
So I definitely see what Timothy Bradley was getting at. Boots Ennis has received a lot of praise, a lot of plaudits, for doing what he was supposed to do to who he was supposed to do it to.
This is gonna sound familiar.
Xander Zayas can afford to lose this fight a little bit more than Boots can. Because Xander Zayas is the younger fighter of the two with more time to rebuild, and the Puerto Rican fight fans are not as stuck on unbeaten, unblemished records as the Americans are. When you lose, the Americans almost immediately cast you aside.
Yeah, because the Americans think every boxing career is supposed to be a carbon copy of Floyd's.
You're supposed to retire undefeated, or you ain't no good.
I think there's a bit more pressure on Boots Ennis to perform, more pressure to win than there is on Xander, even though Xander's the defending champion. But Boots is the one with all the expectations, all the hype set before him.
I think there's more pressure on him, and I think that a loss would hurt him more than it would hurt Xander Zayas.
Is an example.
Miguel Cotto remained one of the biggest draws in the sport of boxing in spite of taking a knee against Antonio Margarito, losing to Manny Pacquiao, losing to Floyd Mayweather.
Puerto Rican fighter.
Still able to sell 900,000 pay-per-view buys opposite the ring Canelo Alvarez in spite of having quite a few career blemishes going in. The Puerto Rican fight fans are not as stuck on unbeaten, unblemished records as the Americans are.
Xander's got the loyalty of the Puerto Rican fight fan as a safety net, irrespective of what happens on Saturday, but Boots?
The American fight fan is a lot more fickle, a lot more wishy-washy, simultaneously a lot more of a perfectionist.
When they don't have their favorite fighter's unbeaten record to lord over everybody else, you'll find they're not that loyal at all.
We'll see what happens after Saturday, and who stays loyal.
Men's heavyweight news, it's always an attractive option. Joyce angles for a Daniel Dubois rematch, especially now that Daniel's a defending champion. British heavyweight Joyce may be 40 years old and coming off a seriously rough stretch where he's lost 4 of his last 5 fights.
But he believes he still has more to offer. As he tells Sky Sports, he thinks it would be a great idea for him to have a rematch with WBO champion Daniel Dubois, who he scored a win over back in 2020.
Seems like ancient history now. A lot has happened since then. A lot has gone right for young Daniel Dubois, and a lot has gone wrong for Joyce, both of which have fights booked, fights coming up. Daniel's gonna be running it back with Fabio Wortley, whereas Joyce will be traveling.
Venturing into Moscow to box on the undercard of Tony Yoka versus Murat Gassiev.
It's always an attractive option, Joyce told Sky Sports. Before I took Zhang, which was obviously a bad decision, I was WBO interim champion off the back of beating Daniel and Parker. So it's just like a bit of a mistake that I'm going to rectify now. Before Joyce can even really lobby for a Dubois rematch, he'll have to handle business against Artem Suslenkov.
What the fuck is that?
And demonstrate he's worthy of getting another fight of that magnitude. Joyce says he's learnt much during his layoff over the past year and anticipates demonstrating his growth in this particular outing and isn't worried about any sort of rust as he's steadily been in the gym. Joyce is currently slated to appear on the undercard of Garcia versus Yoka this July 11th and hopes a good showing can propel him back to world level.
Oddly enough, Joyce and Tony Yoka still have some ties to Queensbury Promotions, though even more odd is that they're not boxing on a Queensbury Promotions card. This card is being promoted by the IBA. Used to oversee all of the amateur boxing before they were stripped of recognition by the International Olympic Committee, and thus they've thrown their hat in the ring of professional boxing, staging professional boxing matches.
Like this one.
They are a well-financed organization, though. If Joe Joyce is traveling to Moscow to box on one of their shows, he's doing so as the opponent. He's doing so as the B-side.
This guy that he's about to fight, Artem Suslenkov, is an unbeaten guy, 14-0 from Russia.
9 knockouts, 30 years old. The hope for Joe has got to be, as the away fighter, that Artem is green enough and experienced enough that Joe can exploit that.
Small enough in stature that Joe can exploit that, because Artem is not the biggest of heavyweights. He's a very modest 6 feet, 6'1".
In a very general sense, he's not a little guy, but for today's heavyweight division, 6 feet, 6'1", that is on the smaller end of the spectrum.
Joe's gonna have noticeable size and experience over him, those advantages, but he also has noticeable ring rust to shake off. Joe hasn't boxed since April of the previous year.
In his early 40s now, he says that he's been busy grafting in the gym, but you know that you don't do in the gym what you do under the hot lights with the same intensity.
Sounds a lot like Joe's got his fingers crossed and his asshole clenched.
Hoping that he can turn things all around, but how often do you see a 40-year-old fighter at that late stage in their boxing career turn things around? So we'll see how he makes out.
Not optimistic.
Wants to run it back with Daniel Dubois, which is funny because Joe ain't the one that needs revenge. Daniel does. And if he were to fight Joe Joyce for a second time, he would probably get it.
Why does Joe want to fight him then?
Familiarity. The devil that you know. Joe Joyce, having beaten him once before, he tells himself, I can beat him again. And even better that he has a title now, that he's a champion, and his name is buzzing. It's worth something. Joe Joyce is willing to go back in there with him.
Joe Joyce got outpointed by Derek Chisora.
I know. And now he wants to turn it all around by facing an unbeaten Russian in Russia. It's just not looking good.
Tell you what, if Daniel Dubois beats Fabio Wortley for a second time, I'm not against Daniel going into a revenge match with Joe Joyce. I don't think it's going to work out for Joe Joyce. I think at this point, Daniel sparks him out. He beats him. But I'm not against Daniel keeping busy with Joe Joyce. I don't think it's a pay-per-view worthy fight. I don't think it's box office. Dubois versus Joyce 2. But if they did it after the Wortley fight as a regular fight, I would watch it.
Joe says the motivation is getting the win, getting back in there and putting in a dominant performance. I've made some changes, and I'm training hard and getting ready for that fight. I've been training, learning this year, putting in the work, so I'm ready to show what I've learned.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
So the hope has got to be that whatever Joe does know will seem new to Artem, who is widely inexperienced at world level.
Joe's gonna be the best guy that guy's fought in 15 fights.
The IBA show will be available to watch on DAZN at no additional charge, thank God.
I mean, all we could do is wait and see how things work out for what used to be the juggernaut.
Smoking Joe Joyce.